My name is Josh Grupa, and this is Just One Cup. Hey guys, this is episode 6 of Just One Cup, a series where I make a short devotional video while enjoying a cup of coffee. In my last video, I talked about how I was taking a sermon I'd written and breaking it up into several videos, and this is the second video, part 2. To recap last week's video, I talked about how God used a young man to buy milk for a family that desperately needed it, and I talked about the first few steps in the calling of Jeremiah to be a prophet. I talked about how God spoke to Jeremiah and how God told Jeremiah that he was made exactly the way he is so that he can fulfill this task. I ended the video asking how Jeremiah responded to this calling. So, what does Jeremiah have to say about this assignment from God? In verse 6 of Jeremiah chapter 1, he tells God, "O sovereign Lord, I can't speak for you. I'm much too young." The creator of the universe, of you and me, tells Jeremiah he knows exactly what he is capable of and made him just the way he is so that he can fulfill this very task. And Jeremiah asks, "Are you sure about that?" But hold on, this isn't the first time we've seen a reaction like this in the Bible. In fact, it's a pretty typical response. When Moses was called to free the Israelites, he responded with, "What if they don't believe me or listen to me? What if they say that I wasn't even contacted by the Lord?" Or when Gideon was called by God, he said, "How am I supposed to save Israel? My clan is the weakest in the whole tribe." God's callings invoke fear. We ask ourselves, how am I supposed to do this? We're scared and say, I'll never be able to do it. It wasn't any different for me when God told me that I was going to be spending an entire year in Germany. I also had doubts like Jeremiah. God, my German isn't that great. God, what if no one takes me seriously? God, why do I have to leave all my friends behind? And where do these fears come from? Why do we think that we just won't be able to do it? When God calls on us or gives us an assignment, our first thought is always, how am I supposed to do this? Now I gotta do this job, me. We always think that we have to do this all on our own, as if God were to give us this assignment and then just poof, disappear. And when you think like that, of course you won't be able to do it. But the good news is we don't have to do it alone. We have a God who loves us and wants to support us, strengthen us. So God recognizes Jeremiah's fear and he tells him, "Don't say I'm too young, for you must go wherever I send you and say whatever I tell you to. And don't be afraid of the people, for I will be with you and protect you. I, the Lord, have spoken." God tells him, "Look, I know you're scared, and it's not an easy job to do, but don't be afraid. I'll be with you." And he says the same thing to Moses and Gideon. They too were scared, but God says, "Don't be afraid. I will be with you." God takes our fears seriously. He recognizes our apprehension and wants to strengthen us. It's not like he tells Jeremiah what he has to do and then says, "Cool, good luck with that. I'll check on you later and see how you're doing." But he says, "Don't worry. It's my words that you'll be speaking. I will show you where you need to go, so don't be afraid." And how do we experience that fortification from God? As I was applying for this position here in Germany, I was still really unsure and just flat out terrified. In this time, I went on long walks with my dog and had conversations with God. Well, I say conversations, but really it was just me counting my fears and asking a whole lot of questions. Like Gideon and Jeremiah and Moses, I asked the same question over and over. God, are you sure about this? But I never got an answer. It was only after I knew where in Germany I would be working that I experienced this strength and fortification from God. On a Sunday morning after the church service, this old lady comes up to me, and I had never spoken to her before. I didn't even know her name. And she tells me that God had told her she should pray for me and for my time in Germany. And I was like, why not? As she prayed, she counted up all of the fears that I had brought before God, and she asked Him to take them away. I had never spoken to her before, and yet somehow she knew what I was afraid of. She then took me by the shoulders and told me, "Josh, don't be afraid. The Lord is with you." And in that moment, I realized, okay, God, you are very certain, you're absolutely sure that this is the right thing. We don't have to do it alone when God calls on us. He will be there for us and show us where we need to go. He'll give us the words, the strength, the courage to fulfill His task. So what happens after God strengthens Jeremiah like this? Well, that's going to be in my next video. As always, if you have questions, comments, criticisms, concerns, suggestions, any of that, leave a comment down below or just send me a Facebook message. It's okay to be scared when God calls on us. But remember that we don't have to do it alone. God will be there for us. Take care.